Hey everyone, breaking news that's going to impact millions of Americans. Former President Trump just made a huge announcement about supporting additional stimulus checks and a $200 monthly boost for Social Security and SSDI recipients. But before we dive into all the details, let me ask you, have you been struggling to keep up with rising costs lately? Are your Social Security benefits barely covering your basic needs? Well, this latest development might just be the relief you've been waiting for. The political landscape has been absolutely buzzing since Trump's recent statement at a campaign rally, where he voiced strong support for not just one, but two major financial relief measures. This announcement has sent shockwaves through both sides of the political aisle and has many Americans wondering what this could mean for their bank accounts in the coming months. Let's break down exactly what Trump proposed and what it could mean for you. First, he's pushing for another round of stimulus checks, similar to what Americans received during the COVID-19 pandemic. But here's where it gets even more interesting. He's also advocating for a permanent $200 monthly increase to Social Security and SSDI benefits. This is huge news for the over 65 million Americans who rely on these benefits to make ends meet. Now, you might be wondering, is this just campaign rhetoric? Or is there real substance behind these proposals? That's a great question, and it's exactly what we're going to explore today. The reality is that with inflation continuing to impact everyday Americans, particularly seniors and disabled individuals living on fixed incomes, any additional support could make a significant difference in people's lives. Many of you have been reaching out through our community, sharing your stories about choosing between paying for medications or buying groceries. These are choices that no American should have to make, and it seems Trump is aiming to address these concerns head-on with these proposed measures. Let's talk about the stimulus check portion first. The proposed stimulus payment would be similar to previous COVID-era payments, but with some key differences. While the exact amount hasn't been officially announced, sources close to Trump's team suggest it could be in the range of $1,400 to $2,000 per eligible American. But here's what makes this different. The income thresholds for eligibility might be adjusted to ensure the help reaches those who need it most. But what about the timing? That's probably the question on everyone's mind right now. While no official timeline has been set, Trump's team has indicated they would push for implementation within the first 100 days if he returns to office. However, it's important to note that any such proposal would need congressional approval, regardless of who's in the White House. Now, let's dive into what might be even more impactful for many of our viewers: the proposed $200 monthly increase for Social Security and SSDI recipients. This isn't just a one-time payment. We're talking about a permanent monthly boost that could make a real difference in people's lives. But why $200? According to economic advisors, this amount was calculated based on recent inflation rates and the increasing cost of living that has been particularly hard on fixed-income recipients. You might be asking yourself, how would this affect my current benefits? Would this $200 increase be subject to taxes? These are excellent questions that deserve clear answers. Based on the current proposal, this would be a clean $200 increase on top of your existing benefits, and it would be subject to the same tax rules that apply to your regular Social Security or SSDI payments. Let's put this into perspective with some real numbers. If you're currently receiving the average Social Security benefit of about $1,800 per month, this would bring your monthly payment up to $2,000. Over a year, that's an additional $2,400 in your pocket. For many seniors and disabled Americans, this could mean no longer having to choose between paying utilities and buying necessary medications. But here's something crucial you need to understand. This proposal isn't just about the money. It's about addressing a fundamental issue in our social safety net. The purchasing power of Social Security benefits has been steadily declining over the years, even with annual cost of living adjustments, COLAs. This $200 increase would help bridge that gap and provide more financial security for millions of Americans. Now, I know some of you might be concerned about how this would affect the Social Security Trust Fund's long-term stability. That's a valid concern, and it's one that Trump's team claims they've considered in their proposal. According to their statements, they're looking at various funding mechanisms, including closing certain tax loopholes and redirecting some existing federal funds. Here's another important question many of you might have. What happens to this proposal if Trump doesn't win the election? Well, the interesting thing is that this issue has now been pushed to the forefront of political discourse. Other candidates and lawmakers might feel pressured to address these concerns with their own proposals, potentially leading to some form of benefit increase, regardless of who's in office. The response from both sides of the political aisle has been mixed, as you might expect. Some lawmakers have expressed support for the idea of increasing benefits, but question the specific implementation details. Others have raised concerns about the fiscal impact. But here's what's particularly noteworthy. There seems to be growing bipartisan recognition that something needs to be done to help Social Security recipients cope with rising costs. Let's talk about what this means for you right now. While these are still proposals and not yet law, there are several things you can do to prepare and stay informed. First, make sure you're registered to vote and are aware of your representative's stances on these issues. Your voice matters, and lawmakers do pay attention to constituent feedback on these important matters. You'll also want to keep your information up to date with the Social Security Administration. If these proposals do become law, having accurate information on file will help ensure you receive any additional benefits as quickly as possible. This includes making sure your direct deposit information is current and that the SSA has your correct mailing address. One thing that's particularly important to note, and this is something I really want to emphasize, is that there are unfortunately already scammers trying to take advantage of this announcement. If anyone contacts you claiming they can help you get these benefits early or asks for personal information related to these proposed increases, that's a red flag. Remember, until any law is actually passed and implemented, no one can promise you these benefits or charge you to access them. Looking at the broader economic impact, economists have varying views on how these proposals might affect inflation and the overall economy. Some argue that putting more money in the hands of seniors and disabled Americans would stimulate the economy, as these individuals typically spend their benefits on essential goods and services. Others express concern about the potential inflationary impact of increased government spending. But here's something interesting to consider. Studies have shown that Social Security benefits have one of the highest economic multiplier effects of any government spending. This means that every dollar spent on Social Security benefits generates more than $1 in economic activity. This could be a powerful argument in favor of the proposed increases. What about the timeline for all of this? While we can't give you specific dates yet, here's what we do know. If these proposals gain serious traction, they would likely need to go through several stages of legislative review and approval. This process could take anywhere from several months to a year, depending on various political and economic factors. At this point, you might be wondering what you can do to support these proposals if you believe they would help you or your loved ones. The most effective action you can take is to contact your representatives in Congress. Let them know how these changes would impact your life. Personal stories can be powerful motivators for political action. Remember to share this information with friends and family who might be affected by these potential changes. Many people don't stay up to date with Social Security news and might miss important developments that could affect their financial future.